UAV exiting the AO.
How's it going, Goomy Gang, and welcome back to the channel. And I know it's been a long time, it's been a few weeks, but I'm here and I've always been here. And I want to keep my reasoning kind of short so we can get into the video, but life just kind of gets in the way sometimes. And that's kind of compounded with the fact that the game hasn't really had any crazy good updates recently. I'm really expecting more in the Season 2, but Season 1 Reloaded was kind of a bust, especially for shotguns, because there really wasn't any meaningful change whatsoever, which is really sad to see, especially since there's so many of them now, and a lot of them are just kind of crappy. I'm talking mainly about legacy weapons, but even some of the ones in Black Ops 7 are kind of meh. So even though the game is kind of stale right now, I need to do my diligence here. I'm going to be basically going in, talking about shotguns and which ones in particular need some love, because I haven't been doing that recently, so it's time to get back to basics. So expect more videos from me, obviously coming very soon, including this one, but this one in particular, we're going to go back to the Legacy tab to look at the JAK Wardens, the Model 1887s, because a few people have asked about this one, if it's still any good, and of course it is. And from my understanding, it looks like their damage profile is still bugged in your favor, of course, and when they fix this, if they ever do, then it won't feel nearly as good, but honestly right now it's in a pretty good spot even with its bug profile. So let's just get into it and let's talk about these bad boys again, because it's been a while. Of course, the big thing I want to talk about in relation to this gun is its damage profile, which doesn't seem to be working as intended, and it really hasn't been for at least a year. I can't remember how long it's been, but it's been a while since these have actually been fixed. So taking a look at what is actually bugged here, if you look at the damage profile in-game, the distances here in meters, now they do actually round up. It's 4.6 for that max damage range. That goes up to 5, and then the second one's 8.1, so it rounds down. So looking at this damage profile, your basic 2-shot potential, meaning one trigger pull from each of them fired at the same time, boom, boom, your 2-shot range would be about 8.1 meters in-game. That's if it wasn't bugged. Now, since it is bugged, the 2-shot range potential here is actually way further. We're talking like 15 to 20 meters. I don't think I have an exact number, but it's definitely not just 8 meters. You can actually get further. And last I checked, the reason it does this is because it doesn't seem like at those ranges in-game that the damages are dropping off as they should be, because you step back a few meters, the damage drops only a tiny bit. You step back a few meters again, the damage drops again only a tiny bit. There's not like a solid point where they just drop really hard like they should be in-game with the shotguns. Instead, they just kind of extend their damage, and it barely goes down across that range of 15-20 meters, so that enables you to get some really crazy 2-shot potentials, especially if you use something like the Scarlet Cylindrical Laser, which is one of my favorites. Now, a few other important factors about this shotgun is each one shoots about 6 pellets, so you get 12 pellets in total. And while that sounds really good and it is nice for kind of damage consistency overall to make it to where you're actually hitting your target, it actually does feel a little inconsistent at times, simply because each pellet is actually pretty weak, and to get your max pellet damage in total, firing both at the same time, you have to hit 8 of your 12 pellets in total, rather than just like 4 or 5 for a normal shotgun. But still, having 12 pellets is pretty nice. But since you can't actually aim down sights with these, basically it's 4 pellets from each gun count for the damage, so again, that's how I got 8 out of 12. Now, it's entirely possible with this gun to get a one-tap headshot, meaning one fire from each gun, one trigger pull from each of your triggers. You will get a one-shot headshot if you're in that first range, which honestly, since it is 4.5 meters, that's really not bad, except of course with this gun, with its bug damage state, it's actually more around 5 or 6 from what I could remember. So yeah, this gun is way better than its stats actually show. And one of the other really nice things about this setup is that with pretty much whatever attachments you use, you have a pretty decent sprint to fire speed. It's always going to be pretty much below 100 milliseconds. And I think there's a couple lasers you can run if you want to get better, but it's always good enough to me to where you can rush and be aggressive with it, and it's not going to feel like there's this massive delay. Of course, one awkward thing about this is obviously you can't aim down sights. You can only hip fire, and part of me is crying inside because I would love to have just a singular lever action shotgun I could use like the original Model 1887 and not have to rocket akimbo, but I'll take what I can get. These are still badass and fun to use, and they are very strong. Now, I do want to talk about the build I'm using in the video you're seeing, because it's my favorite way to run the gun. I just swear by this. It just feels so good and so much more consistent than any of the other versions of this build. It's just harder to use. And the real secret here is the CS15 Scarlet Cylindrical Laser. I've talked about this laser before in the past. It's basically the CS or Counter-Strike laser, and the way it works is if you're not moving or barely moving at all, your hipfire spread is going to be basically nothing for whatever you gun have. The tightest possible spread that particular gun can get, you will get with this laser, and you have to be basically stationary to get it. So what happens is when you use it, you'll find yourself in scenarios where you have to kind of go out of cover, wait until you're done moving, wait until you're stationary and your hip fire is as tight as it can, then pull the trigger, then get back into cover. It's very tricky, but it's super rewarding and super fun. and it's very consistent. If you can land your shots, you'll be surprised how far you can actually get 2 shots with this thing with this particular laser on it. Now, a more typical approach with this build is people will probably run something like the Verdansk hook cylindrical laser with something like the full choke, or rather the crown breaker choke, and that's totally fine. And that's how I used to run it basically if I'm just going like a traditional shotgun build would be. But with the cylindrical laser, even though there's more of a skill gap to it, it's so much more rewarding and the possibilities are insane. This little clip you're about to see is one of my favorite kills I've ever gotten, probably in Call of Duty history and Warzone at least, because it really does feel like I'm getting a kill with the original model 1887s against someone who's actually in cover. It's one of my favorite kills I've gotten, and so I figured I'd show you guys, but this is the kind of possibilities you can expect with the cylindrical laser. So do not sleep on it. It's hard, but just try it out and you will get used to it, and it feels so good. Just keep in mind, if you're moving, it's going to be a pretty wide spread, so it actually kind of plays in your favor though with 12 pellets, and if you're very aggressive, because you can kind of nick them and break their armor with one well-placed shot, then be super balls to the wall and aggressive and jump on them with a basically widespread shotgun, which feels really nice. And as a bonus, I like to rock a suppressor because you don't really need a choke with this kind of attachment. It does help with your max hip fire spread, but honestly, I just go all out with a suppressor so I can stay off the radar and keep quiet. And there is also ammo attachments you can use, but all of them are pretty much not really great to use. Incendiary is just a weaker version of the base gun overall, so I really wouldn't recommend it. And then the ball ammo, not great. Slugs, they're super inaccurate, so hard to use, not really worth it at all. Just use the base ammo and you'll be totally fine. And that, my friends, is basically what I have to say about the JAK Wardens, the Lockwood Mark II aftermarket part. Still an amazing setup to use, but I really want to encourage you guys to try out the cylindrical laser. I have in the past. I'm definitely encouraging you now to use it because it's so worth it to take advantage of this bug damage profile. I'm telling you, it's really worth it. But now I just want to know down below in the comments, as always, what do you guys think about this gun? Do you think it's a legacy weapon that still holds up? Do you still have as much fun as I do when you use this build? With all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.